In the deep black of space, Captain Yalin sat alone in his small ship, the Dagger. His hands rested on the control panel. The stars outside didn't blink. They never did. Yalin was a quiet man, soldier, now a cargo pilot. He didn't ask questions. He only moved goods from one planet to another. It paid enough to keep his ship running and his past far behind, but this cargo... This was different. The job came through a private channel, no name, just credits, a big amount. Enough to fix his broken engine and maybe buy real food for once. The message said, pick up from Station 9, no questions. Deliver to Sector 12. When Yalin reached Station 9, 2 guards met him. Their uniforms were dirty, and they looked nervous. One of them handed him a small datapad and said, "The cargo is inside. Be careful." He walked to the loading bay. The door opened. Inside the dark room stood a woman. Her skin was light purple, her eyes wide and full of fear. Next to her was a small child, maybe 4 years old, holding her leg tightly. Alien species, not from Earth. JALEN single quotes. S heart stopped. This is the cargo? He asked the guard. Yeah. The man said, widow and her brat. Her husband was a rebel. Killed by Earth troops? Now she's useless. But some buyers like this kind of thing. Yalin frowned. You want me to take people? They're not people, just aliens. You don't need to talk to them. Just drop them at Sector 12, Black Station. They'll take care of it. Yalin didn't speak. He turned and walked back to his ship. The woman and child followed quietly. The ship left Station 9. Silence filled the air. Yalin didn't talk much. He stayed in the cockpit. But he kept thinking about the boy, his eyes, so full of questions. That night, while checking the ship systems, Yalin walked past the storage room. He stopped. Inside, the child was drawing on the floor using a small piece of metal. A house, a moon, a tall man. The boy saw Yalin and smiled, a pure, innocent smile. Safe? The boy asked in broken English. JL didn't know what to say. He looked at the child, then at the mother. She was sitting quietly in the corner, watching, afraid. He walked away. Next morning, Yalin received a message from Sector 12. Confirmed delivery, alive, no damage. He stared at the message for a long time. His hand moved to reply, but then he heard something. Laughing. He turned. The child was playing with an old robot toy Yalin had in a box, laughing just like a human child. His heart felt heavy. He remembered war. Burning villages, screams, blood. He had seen too much. But this child, this mother, they were not enemies. They were just trying to live. He sat down. He closed his eyes. He made a decision. He opened the communication channel. To Sector 12. He sent one line. Cargo destroyed in asteroid storm. Mission failed. He shut off the comms. Deleted logs. Then walked to the storage room. The mother looked up. She was shaking. JLEN took a deep breath. You can stay here, but you must stay quiet. Understand? She nodded slowly. Her eyes filled with tears. The child ran to Yalin and hugged his leg. Yalin didn't move. Then slowly he placed his hand on the child's back. It was the first time in years that he had touched someone without hate or fear. Later that night, while Yalin was making a small meal, alarms started beeping. Beep, beep, beep. Warning, unidentified. Ship approaching. Yalin ran to the control panel. A scan showed the ID, Earth Fleet Patrol. He cursed under his breath. They had found him. The mother walked into the cockpit, holding her child. Her face pale, she whispered, They found us. Yalin looked at her, then at the stars. His hands moved fast on the controls. He turned off external lights. Started a silent engine cycle. No words were spoken. Only one thought stayed in his mind. I won't let them take you to Space was quiet. Too quiet. The stars outside blinked like cold eyes watching every move. Inside the ship, Captain Yalin sat frozen in his chair. Warning lights flashed red. His heart beat faster. An Earth Patrol ship was locking on. He whispered to himself, Why? Now? He had broken the law, lied to the system, saved 2 lives he was told to sell. Now the price of that choice was flying straight at him. The woman, Lura, stood behind him, holding her son close. She asked in a soft voice, Are we going to die? Yalin didn't answer. The warning, the ship's AI spoke in a calm voice. Incoming hail from Earth Patrol. Ship ID, Iron Viper, orders, prepare for inspection. Yalin swore under his breath. He looked at Lura. Her eyes were wide, scared. The boy, Reno, didn't speak. He simply stared at Yalin, trusting him completely. That trust burned inside Jalen's chest. I need to hide you, Yalin said quickly. Now? He led them down to the cargo bay. He opened a storage panel in the floor, dark, cold, and small. But it would block heat and life signs. Stay here. Don't move. Don't make a sound. Lura nodded. Her hands trembled. She pulled Reno close and climbed in. Yalin sealed the hatch and ran back to the cockpit. The boarding a loud clang echoed through the ship. The Earth Patrol had docked. Footsteps. 2 soldiers walked in, guns at their sides. A third man followed. Sharp suit, cold eyes. An Earth officer, Captain Yalin, the officer said with a fake smile. Running solo these days? Cargo run. Nothing special, Yalin replied. The officer looked around the ship. Slow and careful. No signs of life aboard other than yours, he said, checking his scanner. Strange. There were reports of alien escapees in this sector. Yalin kept his face calm. Nothing here but old engine oil and stale coffee. One soldier opened a food drawer. Another tapped the wall. Every sound felt like a hammer in Jalen's chest. Then a small sound, a thump. It came from below. The officer froze. What was that? Yalin acted fast. Mouse, this old ship has a few. The officer raised an eyebrow. He didn't believe it. Open the floor panel. Yalin didn't move. He said, that's a sealed coolant system. You open it, you'll poison us both. The officer hesitated. A few seconds of silence, then his radio beeped. Sir, orders from command. We're needed at Moonbase 7, emergency protocol. He stared at Yalin for a long second, then turned. Next time, Captain, make sure your ship's cleaner. They left. Door slammed shut. The patrol ship undocked and flew away. Yalin didn't. Breathe until the lights turned green. The Bond Grouse Jalen opened the floor hatch. Lura crawled out, holding Reno close. Her eyes were wet with fear and relief. You saved us again, she said. Ja, and shook his head. I just bought us time. Reno reached out and touched Jalen's hand. You brave, he said in his tiny voice. Jalen didn't know what to say. For years he had lived for money, for silence, for distance from everything human. But now he was risking his life for 2 aliens he didn't even know. Something inside him was changing. New Plangulin sat in the cockpit staring at the stars. They'll keep searching. We can't stay in this sector. Lura stood beside him. I know a place, she said softly. A hidden moon. My husband took me there once. It's safe, no Earth scanners. Yalin looked at her. Then that's where we're going. He said. Of course. The engines rumbled softly. The ship turned, and they disappeared into the stars, but far behind them, on a screen at the Earth Command Center, a red dot blinked. Target. Yalin, wanted for alien smuggling * space, looked calm, but Yalin knew better. The stars didn't talk. But they remembered everything. The wars, the screams. The ships that never came back. Jalen sat in the pilot's seat. His fingers moved fast across the control screen. His eyes focused on the star map. Beside him, Lura whispered, It's called Orion, the ghost moon. Yalin turned to her. Ghost? She nodded. Many who go there. Return. The journey begins. The ship moved through a narrow wormhole, a crack in space only a few knew. The engine groaned, shaking like it was in pain. Reno was asleep, hugging an old blanket. Yalin glanced at the child, then back at Lura. You really think we'll be safe there? He asked. Lura didn't smile. I don't know, she said. But it's the only place left. The ship dropped out of the wormhole. In front of them, a gray, cold moon, floating alone in the dark. It looked dead, silent, no cities. No lights, but Yalin noticed something strange. His radar showed signals. Moving signals. Something's alive down there, he muttered. Landing on the ghost moon, the ship landed near a cave covered in strange purple vines. Yalin stepped out first, blaster ready. The air was thin but safe. Cold wind touched his face. Laura carried Reno, wrapped in a thick blanket. "This way," she said, leading them toward the cave. Inside, they found a hidden metal door. Jalen raised his gun. "What is this?" Laura answered. "A shelter. My husband built it." With a beep, the door opened. Inside, old machines, supplies, sleeping mats, and walls covered in strange alien writing. Reno ran around, excited. He touched a wall. It lit up softly. Jalen looked at Laura. "This isn't just a shelter. This was a base." Laura nodded slowly. "My husband was part of the resistance." The past revealed. They sat around a small firelight. "You lied. You said your husband was a worker?" She looked down. "I had to." Jalen's voice was calm but cold. He was a fighter, a rebel. "He was fighting for his people," she said quietly. "For peace. He never hurt humans." Yalen stood up, pacing. "You don't understand," he said. "I killed rebels on orders. I thought they were all monsters." Laura didn't speak. Then she whispered, "Maybe we were all just trying to survive." Something outside suddenly. Reno screamed. They both jumped up. The boy pointed toward the entrance. "Something's out there!" Yalen ran to the door. "Blaster ready. Nothing. Then he saw it. A shape, tall, thin, watching, then gone. He closed the door fast. Locked it. "What was that?" he asked. Laura's face turned pale. "This moon has ghosts, but not from the past." "What do you mean?" She looked at him. "Earth wasn't the only enemy we had?" Hidden truths. Later that night, Yalen checked the old computer systems inside. The shelter.1 file opened. It showed a video, old, shaky. Laura's husband appeared on the screen. He spoke in soft, tired words. "If you are watching this, I am probably dead. The ghost moon is not safe anymore. We found something deep under the surface. It's not human, it's not alien, it's older, and it's waking up." The video ended. Jalen's blood turned cold. Just then, Reno ran to him again. "Papa," he said. Jalen froze. "I'm not," but the boy hugged him tightly. And something inside Yalen broke open. He knelt down, held Reno close. Maybe, just maybe, he was becoming something more. The shaking stopped, but the silence that followed was worse. Captain Yalen stood in the doorway of the shelter, gun ready, ears sharp. No wind, no sound. Even the moon itself seemed to be holding its breath. Behind him, Laura held Reno tightly. The boy didn't cry, but his eyes were full of fear. Jalen turned to them. "Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it unless it's me." Laura stepped forward. "You shouldn't go alone." Yalen looked at her. "I've been alone most of my life," he said. "It's the only thing I'm good at." The descent begins. Jalen opened a hidden tunnel in the floor, an old mining shaft Laura's husband had mentioned in the shelter files. Dust flew into the air as metal doors groaned open. A long ladder led down into darkness. Jalen turned. On his light, the beam cut through the black like a knife. He climbed down slowly, one step at a time. His blaster ready. After 10 minutes, his boots touched the ground. He wasn't alone. The forgotten hall. He stood in a long hallway. Ancient stone walls, covered in strange symbols. They glowed faint blue. Jalen walked slowly. There were no signs of Earth tech, no alien metal. This place was older than both. Suddenly, he saw something carved into the wall. A figure. Humanoid, but wrong. No eyes. No mouth, just a tall, thin body reaching upward. Below it were smaller carvings. Hundreds of figures bowing down to it. Jalen single quotes. S voice was barely a whisper. "What the hell is this place?" The whisper. Then he heard it. A whisper, not with ears, but in his mind. "You came. You brought them. The bloodline." Yalen clutched his head. The voice was cold, ancient, not human. He fell to his knees. Visions filled his mind. Planets burning, armies kneeling, a black sun rising. He saw Reno. The boy was glowing. His eyes turned silver. Then, nothing. Back at the shelter above, Laura felt something change. The air was heavier. The lights flickered again. Reno stood by the door. "Mama," he said, "something is calling me." She pulled him close. "No. Baby, don't listen. That voice is not our friend. He didn't resist, but he kept staring at the floor, like he could see through it. Jalen's returned, but Changeagilin climbed back up an hour later, his face pale. Hands shaking, Laura opened the door quickly. What did you see? Yalen didn't answer right away. Finally, he whispered, there's something buried under this moon. Something alive. Or trying to be. He looked at Reno, and at once. Laura stepped back. Why? Yalen turned to her, voice serious now. Your husband didn't build that shelter to hide. He built it to watch whatever's down there. Maybe even protect the boy from it. She shook her head. No, he loved Reno. He didn't think our son was... Yalen cut her off. I saw it. That thing under the ground. It showed me fire. Death, and the boy in the center of it. The Changeagilin stood at the window, watching the dead surface of the moon. If we leave now, he said, they might track us. But if we stay, that thing will wake up. And when it does, it's coming for Reno. Laura looked down. What do we do? Yalen turned around. I don't know what Reno is. I don't care. All I know is I chose to protect him. So now I... Fight. Laura stared at him. Slowly, she nodded. You're not alone this time. Sudden attack suddenly. The wall exploded. Boom dust filled the air. Rocks fell. The shelter shook like an earthquake hit it. Through the smoke, Yalen saw figures, but they weren't soldiers. They weren't alive. They moved like shadows. Thin, tall, no faces, exactly like the carvings. Reno screamed .jal and grabbed his blaster. They're already here. As the creatures moved closer, Reno stood up. His eyes glowing faint silver, he raised his hand and the creatures stopped. Yalen froze. What? Are you? Reno looked at him. I don't know. Just as peace settled for a moment. The shelter shook. The shadow creatures froze, not because Yalen shot them, not because they were afraid, but because the child told them to stop. Without saying a word, Reno's small hand was raised. His eyes glowed silver like the cold surface of the moon. For a moment, even the air felt like it had stopped moving. Captain Yelane stared in silence. Laura stepped back in fear. Reno? She whispered. What are you doing? Reno didn't answer. His lips didn't move. But the shadows did. They stepped back. One by one, they melted into the floor. And disappeared. Then the glow faded, and the boy collapsed. The aftershock Jalen picked him up. Reno was breathing, but barely. Laura looked shaken. He stopped them. He made them leave. Yalen nodded slowly. I don't think he knows how. They placed Reno on the sleeping mat. His skin was cold. Sweat ran down his face. Jalen looked at Laura. What are you not telling me? She looked away. I don't know, I swear. I only know that he was different when he was born. He never cried, never got sick, and sometimes strange things would happen near him. Like what? Things would float. Machines would fix themselves. Once, he healed a broken bone in my arm just by holding it. Yalen ran a hand through his hair. He's not just different, he's chosen for something. The final message. Egelin opened the shelter's terminal again. One file was still locked, red icon, encrypted. He hacked into it. A message played. Reno's father, speaking fast. Scared, they came for him. The keepers of the below, they say he's the key to something buried deep under the moon. Something old. They worship it, but they don't understand it. If you're seeing this, it means I failed to protect him. Please, whoever you are, don't let them take him. Don't let him become what they want. The screen went black. A stranger at the door knock. A sound that didn't belong. Jalen stood fast, gun in hand. Laura held Reno close. The door didn't break. It opened, and a man walked in. He was tall, wearing a dark cloak. Not a soldier. Not a shadow creature. His skin was gray-blue, his face calm, voice smooth. You are the protector, he said. Looking at Jalen. Jalen raised the gun. Wrong door, friend. The man didn't flinch. I come with peace. Laura stepped forward. Who are you? He looked at Reno, then bowed his head. I am Aresh. I serve the one beneath. I have waited for the child, for years. Yalen stepped in front of Reno. You're not taking him. Aresh raised a hand slowly. I'm not here to take. I am here to warn. The truth breaks in. Erish walked slowly, then pointed at the floor. There is no more time. The seal is breaking. The thing below is waking. Yalan narrowed his eyes. What is it? Aresh looked up. An ancient mind. Trapped for thousands of years, not alien, not human. Something older than memory. It speaks through dreams. Through children like him, Laura asked. And what does it want? Aresh's eyes turned dark. To be born again. Through Reno. The room fell silent. Jalen stepped closer. What happens if it succeeds? Aresh replied without emotion. Then this. Galaxy dies. The impossible choice. Jalen sat down. For the first time in years, he looked truly afraid. We should have left, he muttered. We should have run. Laura stood firm. We still can. Aresh shook his head. If you run, it will follow. If you fight, it will rise. Yalan looked at Reno's small, sleeping face, and he asked the one question he never thought he would. Can we stop him, if we have to? The air turned cold. Aresh answered, You can kill the boy, but not the thing inside him. Suddenly, Reno opened his eyes. He wasn't asleep anymore. He sat up, calm, quiet, and then he said something no one expected. He's not here to help. He's lying. All eyes turned to Arshtat. Jalen raised his gun again. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lights flickered. Yalan grabbed his gun. Laura looked terrified from deep underground. A sound echoed. Not mechanical. Not natural. It sounded like a voice, speaking in a language Yalan had never heard, but somehow understood. We see you. Aresh didn't blink. But Reno's words echoed in the small shelter like thunder. He's not here to help. He's lying. Captain Yalan turned slowly. His blaster pointed at the so-called messenger. Talk, Yalan said. Now Aresh stayed calm. I told you the truth, but not all of it. Yalan's grip on the blaster tightened. Then start talking, fast. The true plan. Aresh stepped back, hands still raised. The child is not just the key. He is also the door. Yalan frowned. What door? Aresh's voice lowered. A door between life and the one beneath. Through the child, it will live again, wearing his face. Laura gasped. You mean it will take over his body? Aresh nodded. His soul will be erased. What remains will not be Reno. Yalan stepped forward. And you're okay with that? Aresh finally showed emotion. I was born in a dying world. The one beneath offered us hope. It promised survival. And I believed until now. Reno looked straight into his eyes. You still believe? Aresh's face twisted. His hand moved too late. Yalan fired. Zap! Aresh dropped to the ground, dead. The mind breaks open suddenly. The shelter shook again. Harder this time. The floor cracked. The air turned thick like water. Laura screamed as the lights turned. Blood red. Jalen stumbled. And then it happened. A voice entered his head, not from outside. Not from the room, from below. You protect the vessel. You think he is yours, but he is mine. Yalan grabbed his head, falling to his knees. Visions slammed into him, galaxies spinning backward. Time splitting open, children screaming without. Sound. And in all of them. Reno stood at the center. His eyes silver. His face empty. Inside the Minskepelin was no longer in the shelter. He stood in a black space, no floor. No sky. In front of him stood a tall, faceless figure. It shifted like smoke, but its voice was sharp like glass. I gave your species fire, it said. I gave you dreams. You gave us nightmares. Yalan replied. The creature moved closer. Your war, your hate, your fear, they feed me. I do not destroy. I only complete the circle. Yalan raised a fist. You're not taking him. The being laughed without a mouth. You cannot stop. Birth, even the stars obey me. Suddenly, Yalan felt something warm. A small hand took his. He looked down. It was Reno's voice inside this dark mind space. Reno spoke clearly. I don't want to be its door. Yalan knelt. Then fight it. I'm scared, Reno whispered. Jalen placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. You're not alone. You never were. Then Reno stood tall. The black space shook. The being screamed. Not in fear, but in rage, and then light. Back in the shelter, Dylan opened his eyes. He was back. So was Reno, standing in the center of the room, glowing again. But this time it wasn't silver. It was gold. The cracks on the floor closed. The shaking stopped. Laura rushed forward, holding her son. What happened? She cried. Yolande stood up slowly. He locked it out. Just for now, but it's still pushing, it's still trying. The final warning. Yolande turned to the old terminal one last time. The final message blinked. Seal will break in 24 hours. They had one day to leave the moon. Or destroy what lived beneath it. Jan looked at Laura, at Reno. We can't run anymore. She nodded. So what do we do? She asked. Jan stared at the ground. We bury it. Cliffhanger. Ending far below, in the deepest part of the moon, something ancient moved. Slow. Hungry, awake. It whispered a final word, not in a known language, but in Jalen's voice. Papa. The moon was no longer quiet beneath its surface. Something had awakened, and it was hungry. Jal stood outside the shelter, looking up at the pale sky. No sun, no wind. Just a clock ticking in his head. 24 hours left. Maybe less. Inside, Laura packed what little they had. Reno sat nearby, drawing quietly on the metal floor, but this time, he wasn't drawing houses or stars. He was drawing the creature. Tall, faceless, surrounded by fire. Yalin knelt beside him. Is that what you see? Reno nodded. It's coming. The last Plangelin looked through the files left by Laura's husband. Schematics. Logs, old maps of the tunnels under the moon. One entry stood out. Chamber 0, core seal, do not enter. Perfect. If this thing wants a door, Yalin said, we'll give it a door that leads to nowhere. Laura frowned. What are you thinking? Yalin didn't smile. We bury it. The old way, explosives, collapse the chamber. Crush it in the dark forever. Laura went pale. That's suicide. Maybe, Yalin said, but not for him. He looked at Reno. The boy was still drawing, but now he was drawing Yalin. Standing between the creature and the stars, the descent. They followed the old tunnels, deeper than before. The air got colder. The lights dimmer. At the very bottom was a massive stone door. No tech, no locks, just willpower. Reno stepped forward. It's listening. He whispered. Jal and placed a small pack of old mining charges around the chamber. Enough to bring down a mountain, or maybe a god. He turned to Laura. When this blows, everything down. Here goes with it. Laura's voice cracked. And you? Yalin looked at Reno. I made a promise. I won't let it take him. The final confrontation inside the chamber. It waited. Not a body, not a shape, just presence, a pressure in the brain. A voice behind the eyes. It spoke in 1,000 whispers. You are dust. He is mine. I was before stars. You cannot. Bury fire? Yalin stood firm. I'm not here to bury fire. He pulled Reno close. Put a hand on his chest. I'm here to protect this fire. The real kind, the kind that chooses love. The chamber screamed. Reality cracked. Reno began to glow, brighter than ever. His eyes shone gold and blue. He looked up at Yalin. Go, he said. I can hold it. Yalin shook his head. Not alone. Sacrifice and strength. Yalin picked Reno up and ran. The being roared inside their minds. The walls trembled. You cannot escape. As they reached the exit tunnel, Yalin turned to Laura. Take him. No, she cried, but Yalin handed the boy over. Get him to the ship. Fly. Don't stop. Laura grabbed Reno, crying, What about? You? Yalin smiled, just a little. Some doors need to be shut from the inside. The collapsogel ran back into the chamber. The charges were armed. He stood there. Just a man, a soldier, a father, a human. And then he said one last word. Burn alone. He pressed the trigger. Boom. The moon shook. The chamber caved in. And the ancient voice went silent. Forever. A small freighter ship moved across a quiet system. In the corner, a boy sat by a window. He held a drawing pad. He sketched a tall man with a blaster. And a kind smile. Laura walked over, sat beside him. What's that? She asked. Reno smiled softly. Papa. She kissed his forehead. He saved the galaxy. Reno looked out the window. No, he said. He saved me.